You are in the mix with D.Hall and the People's Show. Listen, yo. This is a J. York production.
Oh, hello to everybody. Man, my mic cut off there. It's another Sunday. Glad to be here. Glad to be with y'all. I am your host, D.Hall of the D.Hall People Show. We are broadcasting live right now on a Sunday. Wow. We're here. Thank y'all for joining us. Just want to talk with y'all for a minute, just 1 minute, 60 seconds. That's all we got to have. I got my man on today, Steve Ward out of the UK. God, this guy here, man, let me tell you something. Wait a minute, the oldest guy to be boxing. We're going to talk with him in just about 45 seconds. I want to say thank my Heavenly Father for being on today. Y'all share the video one time if you don't mind. Big shout outs to J. York, my producer and production manager. Hey man, great guy. We was together yesterday for the amateur event that was held down in New Bern, North Carolina, in the States. But look, like I said, I want to thank everybody. Thank for the people who are coming on. Y'all share the video one time. We get ready to talk to my man. Yeah, from the UK. Big shout out to Oliver Fennell. Yeah, for letting me get hold of this young man at 65 years of age. Y'all share the video. We get ready to talk to my man from the UK. Nottingham. Here we come, y'all. We getting ready. Let's get him in here right now. There he is. It's Steve. How you doing, Steve? How you doing, Steve? Can you hear me good? Can you hear me well? Look like it froze up a little bit. What's happening? Oops. Oh, there he is.
I'm all right. Can you hear me okay?
You doing great, man?
Yeah.
Good. Can you hear me well?
Perfect, Donnie. No problems.
Okay, great. We want to make sure that you can hear me because we get ready to talk to you, and we want to make sure you hear what we're saying and how we're
Yes, I
saying
can hear
it.
you perfectly.
Great, wonderful. How have you been today? It's been Sunday. How have you been today?
Yeah, no problem at all.
Great. I want you to tell the people who you are and where you're located at.
Oh, she's dragged me around everywhere shopping, doing a lot of.
So wait a minute.
Okay, my name's Steve Ward. I come from Nottingham, the UK, United Kingdom.
Great. Steve Ward
Hello.
from Nottingham, United Kingdom. But- Okay.
That's right.
Great.
Yeah.
Look, Steve.
That's,
Great, Steve. Seems like there may be a little bit of delay in there somewhere. I don't know, but we're gonna go with it. No doubt about it. You can still hear me quite well? Is that correct?
I can hear you. Yes.
Great. Okay, look, Steve, through Oliver, I found you, and he said, "Hey, I need to speak with you a little bit about your history because you are the oldest man in professional boxing to be boxing. That's amazing. That's amazing. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna talk about those things. We're gonna talk about your history a little bit here for the next 30 minutes. You're from a tough place. The place is called Hyson Green. Uh, Tell us a little bit about your life about that place. Tell us a little bit about that place.
Well, Nottingham, it's a nice big city, but it's got its bad areas, and Hyson Green was known to be the roughest area in Nottingham.
Mm-hmm.
My mother and father, they'd got a little news agent shop on actually Radford Road in the middle of Hyson Green.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to be born down there, people used to look down on you. There are a lot of great people, a lot of great people.
Mhm.
But of course, you got that minority of bad ones, and it's them what get the area a bad name. But you'd got to be able to look after yourself down there. That is a true factor.
Mhm.
So my dad, after being bullied, how I was getting bullied at school, one thing and another, he took me to the local boxing gym.
Okay.
I didn't want to do it or anything. I was pushed into it, Donny. Really
Really?
pushed into it.
Really? Okay.
Boxing wasn't for me. But I had no option. In those days, you either done what your dad wanted or you got a thick ear. You felt his back of his hand. It was simple enough, wasn't it? I'm sure you've gone through those stages as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it was a matter of he took me up to the gym. I got into the gym and it was just like a little room. There were a
Mhm.
lot of people stood around an open fire, little burner.
Mhm.
You've got your horsehair boxing gloves in one corner of the room,
Mhm.
and you've got the oldest scales, Avery scales, the old slide ones.
Mhm.
Very, very accurate. You could
Yeah.
test
Very
them,
accurate. Mhm.
but yeah, that's how it was. And the next room, you got a boxing ring. Then you got the floor ceiling balls, the speed balls. And my dad went to the actual top man of the place and says, I want you to toughen him up. He's
Mhm.
being picked on at school. Toughen
Mhm.
him up. He says,
Mhm.
and when he's good enough for sparring, put him in with the bigger lads and let them ladder him a little bit.
Mhm.
So I was coming home most weeks, blooded nose, bit of a
Mm.
black eye, wobbly tooth. I think
Mm.
I'd have sooner took my chance with the bullies at school.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I want to talk about too. Those bullies that you we want to talk, but you move right into that. So go ahead.
Yeah, the bullies. There were a certain little half dozen of them. They'd stick together all the time. You used to go to school, you got your packed lunch, your sandwiches and everything. They'd
Mhm.
take them off you. And if you
Mhm.
didn't want to get hurt and get beat up, you'd give them them. And this went on for a long, long time. Not
Mhm.
just me.
So
There were
how
one or two.
let, let me stop you right there. So how old was you when these bullies was taking your food and whatever else you had? Well, how old were you?
I'd be around about 6 years old, 7 years old
Okay.
at school from the
Okay.
infants class.
Okay. Okay.
And it was terrible. And the teachers didn't want to know anything about it.
Okay.
If the problem were there, they'd had to deal with it. So they didn't notice the problem. I think it
Right.
was an easy way out, to be honest with you.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So the weak guys, the skinny guys, the skinny girls,
Mhm.
it was sheer hell what we had to
Mhm.
go through sometimes.
Mm.
But
Let me ask you this. Let me stop you right there. Was this was every day, or how was it like that? I mean, was it every day that that went down?
this was every day.
Every
Every day
day?
was alike. Yeah.
Wow.
And because they knew that me mother and father had got a little nudes agent shop, that
Mhm.
means sweets. I could
Mhm.
get toffees and chocolate. They
Mhm.
were trying to get me to pinch from me mum and dad
Mhm.
and bring it to them, which I wasn't going to do. I don't do that. I never would do that.
Mhm.
So I was
Mhm.
taking one or two beatings, what I didn't tell my mum and dad about why I was
So,
getting them.
so
But yeah, it was
you was
constant
taking
all the
you was
time.
you was taking fight you was fighting, but you never told your mother. I mean, well, you was taking. I said you said beatings, but I hope not beatings. But you didn't ever tell your parents about it, huh?
Yeah,
Wow.
me sandwiches off me and things like that. But I never told my mum and dad that they were
Mm.
trying to get me to steal from our own shop light and bring it to them. I
Oh,
wouldn't do
really?
that. Yeah, it was that bad.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God.
Yeah, there's a lot what went off in those days, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad ended up taking me. I'd be 9 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how old I was when he took me to the boxing gym.
Okay. Okay. Because you went to
And
the boxing gym. I ain't mean to cut you off, but you went to the boxing gym there in Nottingham, School of Boxing, and
that's it, yeah.
yeah, that's where your father took you at, and you um, began to work there. Describe to us what took place when you first got there. What happened?
Well, when I first got there, I was introduced to the
Mm-hmm.
two trainers.
Mm-hmm.
One's name was Arthur Mason, very, very loud, frightening man.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
other one, Harold Bamford, very quiet, soft-spoken guy. It was a matter of good cop, bad cop.
Mm-hmm.
And Arthur said to me,
Mm-hmm.
come with me. I've got a job for you. He says, and this job's going to be yours all the time
Mm-hmm.
until you get older.
Mm-hmm.
And he took me into the middle room and he pointed to a bucket. And I didn't know what I was supposed to do with this bucket. I
Mm-hmm.
says, what do I do with it? He says, you empty it every night. It was the urine bucket.
Mm-hmm.
There's no toilet up there. That's where they used it as a toilet. And I had the job every day I went there of emptying that bucket consistently.
Now, how old was you when you had to empty that bucket? So this is where they was using a bathroom at?
Yeah, 9 years old I was, 9 years
Wow.
old. And I emptied that right to the age of 11 years old, up to having my first fight at 11.
What
I
what
had to
what
empty
what
that
was
bucket
what
all the
what
time.
what was going through your mind when you had to do that every day until you was 11?
Well, I just thought there's got to be a reason for it. And apparently what it actually was, I was a baby of the club. I was a little
Oh,
boy, the baby of the club.
so you was the
So
baby
I'd
of the
got to sort
club.
of, yeah, I was. I
Wow.
think the next one was 12-year-old. So I was the real baby of the club at 9 years old. So I
Wow.
had to do that job. And I never
So you
ever
had
moaned about it.
so, so you had to do the job and you did it until you was what, 11, correct?
Yeah, 11 years old.
Oh my
Never
God.
missed a day. I done it consistently and I never ever moaned about it.
So through that process of you doing that, did they try to work with you and getting you ready and preparing you for boxing?
Yes, they were. They were hard on me, which, to be honest with you, I needed because I was so
Mhm.
soft and I
Mhm.
was so
Mhm.
thin as well, very very
Mhm.
thin. We could
Mhm.
have had a game of hide and seek, and I could
Mhm.
have hid behind a lamppost, and you couldn't have seen me.
Mhm.
But yeah, they helped get me ready and prepared. The sparring what they gave me,
Okay.
sometimes I would get
Okay.
in really knocked about, and I hated it. I did hate it. I didn't like
You
the
you
boxing at
hated
all.
you
Yeah,
hated to go to the sparring?
yeah, I hated it. Hated
Really?
everything about the boxing. I just didn't want to be there at that particular time. I
Now
didn't want
hold
to
it.
be there.
Let me stop you right there. How old was you when you was going through that?
I was about 11 years old. I'd, I was coming up for my first fight.
You was 11 years old.
Yeah,
Coming up. Okay, go ahead.
just coming up for my first fight. And the first fight, it was a local fight,
Mhm.
just a normal working men's club. It was all right. Everything went well. I won the fight. I should have won it though, because I'd got 2 years experience where I'd been in with champions, having them spar with me and knock me about. So I was well prepared for that first fight, trust me.
Yeah, you
And
you you was pretty ahead of the game. You know, you worked for 2 years and you did all the other things, so you was pretty well set up. So how did you say you didn't like it though, but when you got into the ring, what did it feel like to you?
when I first got in that ring, it was just like the sparring. I'd got no nerves at all. I've never suffered with nerves. And I got in the ring. I thought, well, I hope he's ready for this in that opposite corner because he's made me suffer for 2 years. I blamed him. I did blame him. And I went across and I beat the guy. And my father said to me afterwards, he says, "Do you like it now, Steve?" I says, "No, I hate it." I says, "I hate it. Just because I win the fight doesn't mean I've got to like it." I didn't.
Right. So you didn't like it, and you was at what age was that?
That was 11 years old. That
Still
was
11 years old. Okay.
first fight. Didn't like it. And right up to about, we'll say 10th or 11th fight, something like that. My dad asked me after every one, "Do you like it now?" Because I was winning them. I says, "No, I still hate it. I just don't like it."
What was it? Y'all, let me stop you right here. We're talking with my man Stephen Ward out of the UK. He is the WLC gold cruiserweight champion, world legend champion. But what was it, Steve, that you didn't like? You was 11 years old. What was it that you didn't like about it, but your father liked though? What you didn't like about it?
Well, my father, he was going blind very, very quickly.
Yes.
He wanted me to be able to look after myself. So he was push. Now, me, I think what made me dislike it more than anything, Donny, I couldn't go out with my mates. Everything was dedicated to boxing.
Yeah.
Every minute was dedicated to boxing.
Yeah.
It was a total 100% all the time boxing, what my dad wanted. Now, that's all right, but it's a lot for a kid of 11 to take on.
Yeah.
And right up to my 12th fight, he asked me every time. I says, "No, I hate it." And on my 12th fight, he didn't ask me. I don't know why. I don't know if there was a reason. So I went to him. I says, "Go on, Dad, ask me." He says, "Ask you what?" I says, "Ask me." He says, "Okay, do you like it now?" I says, "No, I love it." He says, "What?" I says, "I love it." All at once, it had clicked with me. And I did. I got the natural want to do inside me all at once. And I kept having the fights. I was winning quite a lot of them. I had 148 amateur fights.
So you started liking it, you started loving it, and you was still you was what age when you started loving it or liking it? Well,
it was about 11 or 12 years old.
Wow.
And I'll tell you how much I was loving it. I was taking my paper round in the morning, and normally when you take your paper round, you then go back to bed for an hour after because it was very early. I was going running. I was doing all the running, all the training. I wanted to be fitter and fitter. I was pushing myself then.
So you really had a mind. You was 12 years old, and you really had a mind of, okay, this is what I'm going to do now.
Yeah.
Why? Let me say this. Let me tell you something. You know, that's great because at 12 years old, some kids don't know what the heck they're going to do. They don't know what they're going to do.
That's very true.
But go ahead.
Well, my mum and dad had a little news agent shop, as I've said, and they got a little sepia picture of me when I was born on the counter. And my dad put under this picture, "One day, this man will be a world champion."
Yeah.
Now, from 12-year-old, I really began to want to be a world champion.
You wanted to be a world champion.
At 12 years old, I knew what I wanted.
Mm-hmm. It's great. It's great.
And I'd
Because
got
a
to
lot of
make
kids,
this happen. I had
that's great.
148 amateur fights. I lost 12. I won 136 of them. I had to do 72 stoppages. And I absolutely loved every minute of it.
Okay, look, we got them prosed up here again.
Yeah, I loved every minute of it. And if I could go through it again, I would do. I don't regret any of it.
So you wouldn't change it. You wouldn't change a doggone thing if you had to go through it again. That right?
Are you all right? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit, but you're breaking up just a tad for whatever reason. Breaking up just a tad, just a little bit. But he said that he wouldn't change it.
Not in my amateur career, nothing at all. I loved it all.
Wouldn't change it at all.
Yeah. Oh.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, look.
Okay, now. Yeah.
You left. You didn't ever finish school, did you? Did you ever finish school?
No, I was quite happy to carry on. Yeah. From 12 years old, I absolutely got doing some money in class. Stay at school or anything.
Yeah, because around about 15 or so, 14 or so, you started working, didn't you? Didn't you start working then?
Yeah.
Around about that time?
I left school at 14 and I had to wait to my 15th birthday, just a few days before I could start work legally.
Okay.
And then I started work at 15 years old. And I'd got to bring some money into the house. My dad couldn't earn anything anymore because of the eyesight. We had to sell the shop. My mum, she got a little cleaning job at that time because my mum was a policewoman at one time.
Well, she was.
No, she had to get a little cleaning job, and I had to get out there working as well.
Okay. So 15 years old, you went out and you had to bring some income in, and you did that at that age because you had to, of course you couldn't work and be at school at the same time. So you did the necessary things to help mom, and you did.
You'd got to get by in those days. You just got to do what you'd got to do.
Yeah.
There was no moaning and crying about it. You just get out there and do what you've got to.
Yeah, that's for sure. And you began to, when you did that, you moved on. You had a heck of an amateur career too, because you was like 148 with 12 losses. Of course, you won 136 of those was wins. But you turned pro. Let's talk about your pro a little bit, because you turned pro in about, what, 76? Was it 76?
Yeah. What it actually was, I'd gone with this amateur guy. I'd moved areas, and I went with this amateur guy, and I had about my last 10 amateur fights with him. And then it would get into the stage nobody wanted to fight me because I'd got too much experience. In England, you used to have these little cards, and they got who you fought, how much experience you've had. And as soon as they seen that I'd got 4 or 5 cards full, they didn't want to fight. So I was turning up to fight people, and they didn't turn up. And I went about 5 times where I turned up and no fight. So the actual guy who was training me at that particular time, he says, let's go pro. Well, I didn't realise fully at that minute in time he'd got to either go pro or he'd got to retire, because he took a big party over, a party of boxers abroad somewhere, and he'd not got the full permission. So they were going to sign him out, stop him fighting amateur and being a pro, going to the pro game.
Right.
So I didn't want to turn professional. I'd got a bad feeling about it. But I was getting no fights as amateur, so I had no option. I turned professional with him.
Okay.
And it was all right, the first few fights. And then the biggest bad thing ever happened to me. My father died. Now, my father was my push power. He put me to boxing, as I've already told you.
Yes.
And he was everything to me. He was the push power. He was the brain behind it.
Yeah, he was. As I read through your detail, I've seen that your father was the main source of everything when it came to the fighting game, the boxing. He was the source, and he meant a lot to you. And by him passing away, it kind of took just a little bit away from you. Yeah, sure did. It sure did.
Yeah, it was devastating. When he died, I lost the will to want to fight. In fact, at one time, I couldn't be bothered. I wasn't eating proper. I was having time off work just because I didn't feel like going. Now, that's not me.
Yeah.
I'm a 100% reliable guy.
Right.
Anybody who knows me will tell you that. But it was very, very hard. I was turning up and I was having fights, and I'm not proud of this. I didn't even look at a gym, let alone go in a gym and train. I was just turning up, having the fights, just going through the motions. And it was no good at all. I was being a fool to myself, and more to the point, the people who believed in me, I wasn't doing justice by them.
Exactly.
But I just couldn't get myself together. He'd gone and there were nobody there saying, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And it was a big thing in my life, Donny. I needed that push. Well, I was trying for a local championship, a Midlands area championship.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna get into that, but let me stop you right there. I'm gonna bring you right back. Y'all come right back with us. We're gonna finish this thing. Give me about 20 seconds, and we're gonna bring you right back in here. Click right back onto that link, and we're gonna go from there, because I want to talk about that, because you was talking about the Middlelands Championship and all that. So we're gonna get a little bit deeper and further in that. We'll be right back, y'all.
Okay, Dolly.
Okay.